Well, hello everybody. Great to see you. Really excited to be here again this week and very excited to be inside as opposed to outside that I was last week, which was a little bit crazy. Um, all right, let's just make sure we've got everything all good. Yeah, fantastic. All right, so really wanted to just start by saying a big thank you. It's been fantastic to see people either try to make it to the live, but also taking the time to watch the replay. And I'm loving some of the people's comments. I really want this to be an opportunity to, when we join together live or whether we're having conversations in the Facebook group, about really focusing on that conversation around what can be achieved in a community when we focus on well-being through a community-driven approach. I really feel very passionately that there's so much that can be done, and there's so many amazing people out there who actually want to help to make it happen, which is just fantastic. All right, so let's get straight onto it. So before we start, I would just like to quickly apologise. I seem to have aged considerably overnight. Um, because I have horrific hay fever. For anyone who doesn't know, I live in the southwest of Western Australia and I live on a farm, and the hay fever season is just awful at the moment. And I have a lot of grass allergies, so my eyes are beyond itchy and sore and weeping and tired. So I do apologise, but just going to have to take me as I come. All right. So I promised you a question today that I wanted to talk about, which I get asked all the time. And that is, what programs could I use in my community if I want to improve mental health and well-being, across the area? Now, I'm going to give you some names of specific programs that I can recommend at the end. But I just want to start with a word of caution. I feel really strongly about this. The thing is that programs are naturally the first place we go to because we have identified an issue, we're concerned about perhaps mental health and wellbeing in our local area. We want to bring in some experts to help, to educate, to build skill sets, all that sort of stuff. But what I want to tell you today is that programs are one piece of the puzzle. They're a really important piece of the puzzle, and please don't for a second think that I'm saying I don't like programs, because I love them and I support a lot of people who deliver programs. But if we want to create impactful change, we must see them as one important piece of the puzzle as opposed to the entire answer. Okay, it's a really specific differentiation that you're making when you're thinking about those programs. So why I say that is because we need to actually consider all that's going on in the community around the issue that we've identified. So let's say, for example, we've identified that we're a bit concerned in our local area about respectfulness, and the way people are treating one another and the kindness people are showing, or perhaps we're concerned about alcohol and other drug issues which are having an impact on mental health in the local area, or perhaps we're concerned with how people can support one another to have conversations around mental health. I know there's a lot of work, certainly in Australia, around the "Are you okay?" and going beyond that question. So really working on that. Now the thing is that we bring a program in, as I mentioned before, to build the skill set of our community, to build the education and the ability to be able to work on this. But there are lots of other areas that we actually need to consider when we're thinking about any of those individual issues. It might be that we need to consider support that's available around that topic. It might be that we need to consider um, building education beyond just that program. We might need to think about whether there's if there's any opportunity for belonging and connection. So an opportunity for people to connect around those issues, or to maybe it's that target group or age or demographic that we want to create more belonging and connection for. We can also be thinking about, or so if we took the idea of respectfulness, or the way people treat one another, We might actually think about, well, what's happening in the school environment around this? What's happening in the sporting environments around this? What's happening in the conversations amongst parents and kids and, um, in terms of promotion and advertising, all these things that are extras that are around the program solution. So, what I want you to think about is I want you to think about programs as being a place that we can tap into when we've identified the issue. So, they're a really important strategy that we can tap into, but they're one strategy amongst all of the other things we can also be doing. Now, the reason I say this is because the power lies in this approach. When we consider doing it in this community driven angle, when we look at it as a whole picture rather than just implementing a program, we start to look at the needs of the community, and we can actually change the program that we utilize as the needs of the community change. And what that means is that rather than having to restart the process every time there is a new issue, or whether the issue evolves or whatever it might have been, we can actually uh, keep the same process and just change the programs or the strategies that we're using. So, for example, if we had a current focus in our area on drought resilience and how our community and our people within the community are able to actually, be more resilient around drought. Certainly, that's a pretty common issue across Australia. It sort of ebbs and flows between droughts and flooding, it feels sometimes. Um, but what the power lies in that when that, it's not that drought's going to disappear, but when maybe our focus is not on that anymore and it's on a different area or a different target group, we're not having to reinvent the wheel every time we do it, because we can actually use the same process but just use different strategies and different programs to be able to address that. So we're not so reliant on having to take that entire process and start it all over again. Now, when we have this community driven approach, when we actually identify a shared issue and then we consider all that's going on and all that's happening, we can actually bring the programs in to just support that and do some intentional work. And we can get funding to support that. So many communities I see do it in a backwards way, in a reverse engineered way. They identify an issue and straight away jump to grabbing in a program, which, as I said, I can is a natural reflex. But then they're disappointed when the long-term cultural shift and the long-term sustainability that they're hoping for doesn't happen. And what I want to say is that that is because there is so much more to it. There's so much more to it than just developing the skill set and and educating around that topic. There's all that goes on. So when we consider all that goes on in order to improve that area, that's when we can truly have success in our communities, because we can start to create a cultural shift around the way that we address these things. So we start to change, to have true change mentality around the issues that we're identifying. We can actually create long-term sustainable change, so that you don't just, this is a frustration I hear so often, so that you don't just bring a program in and at the end of it think, why has it all disappeared? Why all that hard work I put in and it's disappeared? So when we look at it with this, the program as one piece of it and that cultural shift, we create long-term sustainable action. Because what we do is we create a community that truly values collective well-being and truly values change in that area that we're looking to address. All right, so I did promise you that I would tell you some programs that are amazing, because there are some fantastic ones. So I want to spend some time just doing that. But I really wanted to talk about that at the beginning, because it truly is a difference in the way that you consider the way you utilize a program. All right, so some programs that I wanted to mention. A lot of these are Australian based, but I do have a couple that I've got that are from overseas. And I'd love if you're from out of Australia, and or even if you're from within Australia and you've seen amazing programs, please add them to the comments under this video, because I think the more we share these with each other, the better. It helps us sift through things that perhaps aren't as effective as other ones that we could be tapping into. So certainly ones that I've personally experienced. I want to talk about purely ones that I have had involvement in, either with the operators, or I've had involvement with delivering them in communities, or promoting them and things like that. So certainly sadly no longer in Western Australia, but in the eastern states of Australia, Tomorrow Man and Tomorrow Woman are incredible programs. The founder, Tom Harkin, has just done incredible work. We used to have them over in Western Australia, and they were really, really impactful, certainly for our sort of our 15 to 20, well, 15-year-olds and up, basically, and adults. We've used them with um, farming communities, um, community members, school groups, all that sort of stuff. And I just got wind that last week they've opened up their amazing conversations that they're having within schools with young people. They've opened it up to year 7 and up. Before it was year 10 and year 11 up, and now it's year 7, which I just think is fantastic, because I think that's a space we need to really tap into when it comes to mental health and well-being, and you know, all things to do with being a man, a woman, and everything in between in today's society. Um, so there's also, certainly in Western Australia, other programs that have filled that gap are things like Man Up, We Are Women, Kai Fella, one of the guys, Rhett Corker, who used to be with Tomorrow Man. When they disappeared, he stepped into Kai Fella, and Kai Fella supported Tomorrow Man before. Kai Fella do amazing work, and are really quite incredible in Western Australia, so I highly recommend them, and utilising their services. Some other really amazing ones: Regional Men's Health and Unbreakable Farmer. Regional Men's Health is actually, they're great at bringing along to event to support the work that you're doing, because they can have conversations, and really fantastic group of people that work within that association. But that is WA based. Unbreakable Farmer is across Australia. There's also, in terms of mental health education delivery, um, I would highly recommend, wherever you are, looking up your local mental health commission or your mental health body. In Australia, it's things like Beyond Blue and Reach Out and things like that. We've got a local provider in sort of the southern area of Australia, Western Australia, called Liberty Arts, and she does a lot of education around programs such as conversations about suicide, youth mental health first aid, mental health first aid, um, eating disorder conversations, lots of things, lots of education around that. There's a group called Happiness Co, which do some great work in schools. There's a really fantastic program for parents that are looking to, and schools that are looking to support um, the actual specifics around, you know, your own thought processes, kids' thought processes, and being able to deal with anxiety and depression. So that's called Mind Ninja. Excuse me. There's a fantastic program in the eastern states called Backtrack Youth Works. That's about taking kids that are struggling, often are in trouble for behaviour, don't fit the mould always, and getting them really engaged and focused through other means. Certainly overseas, a couple I've had, I'm aware of. There's a great guy just spoke on his full day event the other day, We Are Mentally Shredded. He's based in America, a fantastic organisation trying to do work around mental health, and I think he does talks at different places, so he's someone to look up. And another really fantastic program, actually, sorry, I'm getting very fast. um, Another really fantastic program, which was the very first program I ever used when I was working on anxiety and depression within my own family, was Go Zen. Really amazing program, that while it's based in America, can be used anywhere, but it's really about using online, uh, really online cartoons and videos, but really quite focused at a primary through to high school age. Um, what I like to think of is kind of like cognitive behaviour therapy for kids and teens. It's really fantastic, and I've seen it do amazing work. And I did it alongside a family member, and I got benefits out of it. So I think that that was a really great program. Look, I could talk about programs all day, but I just want to come back to the fact that programs on their own are never going to achieve the impact that you want across your community as you could if you had a community driven approach. And it's a lot more simple than you think it is. You know, I've been through the trenches, I've been through all the mud, and I've seen ways that people can do this really quite effectively. Get a resource bank of programs. It's a fantastic thing to do. But then focus in on developing a community driven approach and bring the right program in when it's the right time to support the other strategies that you're doing to improve that area. Look, I'm going to stop there now. It's been There's so much I could talk to you about in this space. Please, if as you're watching this video and if you're watching it in replay, if you think of questions, go, oh, I should have asked that today, pop them in the chat today, and I can talk about it at our next Q&A session. And it can really be around anything. It can be around something you're currently trying to improve, an idea you've got, um, how on earth you could get started doing this type of community driven approach, maybe around who could you invite to your team, uh, what issues should you be addressing, anything at all. Because I think the more we can talk, the more we can collectively share and collaborate about solutions, the more impact we can have across truly changing the mental health statistics, which I firmly believe that we can do. All right, until next time, I will see you then. Really enjoyed this conversation, mostly with myself, but I know that you'll be watching on the other end, and I look forward to talking to you in the Facebook group soon. All right, see you later.